Police investigate armed robbery of Wismar hairdresser. Police are actively investigating an alleged armed robbery that took place at Kesha Slay Zone Salon on Coca Road, Wismar, at approximately 21:20 HRS on Saturday, targeting 27-year-old hairdresser Mokshaw Stanford. The incident reportedly involved a lone suspect who was armed with a handgun. The suspect is described as a male, about 5 feet 4 inches tall, dark in complexion, with short dreadlocks, and wearing a black mask that partially covered his face. According to the victim, the suspect robbed her of $130,000 in cash and a 5-pennyweight gold ring valued at $60,000, which belonged to a customer, Annalie Palou. At the time of the robbery, Stanford was in the salon with her worker, Shameza Hollingsworth, and 2 customers, Annalie Palou and Shamaya Innes. The suspect entered the salon brandishing a firearm, demanded cash, and took the ring before turning back and firing a shot at Stanford as he exited. She sustained an injury to her lower right leg. Stanford was subsequently taken to the Linden Hospital complex for treatment, where her condition has been reported as stable. Police visited the scene and recovered one suspected 9mm spent shell as part of their ongoing investigation. Several individuals have been questioned, providing useful information to aid in the investigation. The police continue to urge anyone with additional information regarding this incident to come forward and assist in bringing the suspect to justice. Female engineer robbed of $2 million on Lombard Street, Georgetown. CARICOM News reports. On Saturday, a female engineer, identified as Natasha Lewis, fell victim to an armed robbery on Lombard Street, Georgetown. 2 motorbike bandits reportedly snatched her shoulder bag, which contained $2 million, and fled the scene. The incident occurred while Ms. Lewis was walking to a nearby shop on Lombard Street to make a purchase. According to police reports, the assailants approached her on a motorcycle, brandished a firearm, and demanded her belongings. After being held at gunpoint, the bandits forcibly took her shoulder bag and made their escape on the motorcycle. A police report has been filed, and authorities have launched an investigation into the incident. Law enforcement officials are currently pursuing leads and urge anyone with information to come forward to assist with the investigation. Further updates will be provided as the investigation continues. Car thieves assault owner, steal $3 million vehicle in Soesdyke. CARICOM News reports a car theft turned violent on Saturday night as 2 thieves attacked a 27-year-old man, John Caesar, and threw him into a trench before making off with his vehicle, valued at $3 million. The incident took place near a nightclub in Soesdyke, where Mr. Caesar, a heavy-duty machine operator and resident of Timeri Cemetery Road, EBD, had parked his car, a silver PVV 1962. He was seated in the vehicle with a designated driver when the attackers struck. According to police reports, the car's driver's door was open when 2 men approached, appearing to be armed with a firearm. One suspect held Mr. Caesar at gunpoint, while the other reportedly choked him, pulling him from the car. They then threw Mr. Caesar into a nearby trench before fleeing the scene in his vehicle, also taking his Samsung cellular phone. A police report has been filed, and an active investigation is underway. Authorities are urging anyone with information about the suspects or the whereabouts of the stolen vehicle to come forward and assist with the investigation. Further details will be provided as the investigation progresses. Police investigate fatal hit-and-run incident on Tuschen Public Road. The Guyana police force is actively investigating a tragic hit-and-run incident that resulted in the death of an unidentified pedestrian early this morning on the Tuschen Public Road. The accident, which involved 2 motor vehicles, occurred at approximately 2:45 HRS. Preliminary investigations reveal that the victim, believed to be a male of Guyanese and Amerindian descent, was attempting to cross the roadway from the southern side when he was struck by a vehicle traveling west at a high speed. Witnesses report that the pedestrian had been standing with a group of people before stepping into the path of the oncoming vehicle. The vehicle, identified as motorcar #PSS 8190, collided with the pedestrian, sending him airborne. The impact caused him to land on the rear left side of another parked car, motorcar #PRR 7218. The parked vehicle belongs to a 33-year-old self-employed resident of Meetenmeer Zorg and was positioned on the southern parapet of the road, facing east, at the time of the incident. Following the collision, the driver of motorcar #PSS 8190 briefly stopped a distance away from the scene before turning around and returning. However, after a group of witnesses approached the vehicle, the driver fled eastward, leaving the scene before the authorities arrived. Police officers responded promptly, providing initial medical assistance and transporting the unconscious pedestrian to the Leonora Cottage Hospital. Despite the efforts of the medical staff, the victim was pronounced dead on arrival. At this time, police efforts to locate the driver of motorcar #PSS8190 have been unsuccessful, and investigations are ongoing. Authorities are working diligently to identify the individual responsible for this fatal hit and run and are seeking any additional details surrounding the incident.
A former Secretary General of CARICOM, he did a report in the 90s to say we were as poor as Haiti. So many of them don't know about that period. So I asked the gathering of 3,300 persons, how many of you know, the standard question, whether that to eat bread made from wheat in the past, you could go to jail in Guyana? And one person, one young person knew this. It means that we don't know our own history and how far we have come. One person there. So the PNC and AP knew they get away scot-free because people don't remember that past. It's a little distant. And they don't know about the seriously rigged elections to keep them in power in the 28 years. They think it's a recent phenomenon, the 2020 phenomenon, but it's imprinted in the DNA. Bad policy making is part of their DNA. Not fulfilling their promises from Burnham days is either you get more wages in a public service or the hydropower. They never built the hydropower. Feed, clothe, and house the nation was their slogan. They never fed, clothed, or housed the nation. In fact, in all three of these metrics, we retrogressed as a nation. We went backwards. And that was their big slogan in the past. And so the people, they get away with murder now because people don't know of that historic period because they never lived in it. A lot of young people grew up under the PP, so they think what we have today was always there. It wasn't there. It was a bleak environment in Guyana when we took over. Nothing, practically zero. And guess who were central figures? Jordan was in the Ministry of Finance at that time. Norton was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in that time. The same historic figures are from the past are still today making comments. You know, it's not like they've even changed the guard from that period, from the bad old days. So it was interesting, and I think, and that's what I'm saying to people, the young people particularly, we're not going to go heavily ideological in bringing people to us, young people. We want them to come to us with a sense of our history, all of it, our political and economic history, the struggles that we have had as a country to gain independence and now to get where we are today.